It's time for the third annual Magnus vs Magnusson Classic. This year we have 9 brutal events, 3 days of competition and the Icelandic weather conditions to deal with. Who are the athletes to look out for? What are the events? Let's find out. This looks like a fun competition, Auntie Liz. 9 events. I know a lot of people will be happy to see that in a competition.
Yeah, a fun one to watch, maybe less fun to do. I don't know. These guys
I don't know.
pretty twisted.
What I think a lot of people enjoy about the Magnus vs Magnusson Classic is that rustic look to it. The fact that he's kind of gone old school. We don't have the beautiful arenas for the athletes. They are dealing with the conditions. This time of year in Iceland could be quite nasty. I haven't actually checked the weather conditions, so maybe we should.
There was a video the other day of them getting ice off the Husafell stone with like a spade. So I think it's quite brutal out there. But I love the rustic strongman shows. You know I do. All of the old pure strength stuff like that, where they sort of incorporated the landscape around them and use that as part of the events a lot of the time. So
absolutely. So it's 3 days of competition. It's all going to be streamed live on the Rogue Fitness channel. So if you guys want to watch it, you can. Like we say, 3 days of competition starting this Friday.
Yeah, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 events each day. So for strongman fans, we have a jam-packed weekend. How are we going to fit it all in, Lozzie?
So let's quickly remind people of the athletes, because there has been a few changes on the initial list, but we have 12 athletes heading to Iceland, actually a few Icelandic athletes as well, which could be an advantage. I think some of these guys that have maybe used some of this kit before, dealt with this situation before, big advantage over the athletes that maybe potentially are bigger names, but haven't had to deal with these awkward objects and these nasty conditions.
So first up is last year's champion, Rango Kin from Australia. And Rango, the absolute mad lad, last year he was doing all of the events topless.
Yeah, I don't think the conditions are going to bother Rango. He'll be there topless again, dancing away, doing the haka, lifting big weights, and he'll do it almost naked. The man is mental, but I don't think the conditions bother him.
No.
Next athlete from America is Josh Gregory. He competed at the Shaw Classic amateur competition this year, and now it's a big step up, but he's a strong athlete. Look forward to seeing what he can do at this show.
Next, we have the first of the Icelandics in Theodore Mar Goodmanson. He came 3rd at Iceland's Strongest Man this year, and this guy is a genuine giant, like 2.08 metres tall.
He's like 6'10". He's a big boy.
Big boy.
He's competed at the Magnus vs Magnusson Classic 2 years ago, so it'll be interesting to see the improvements he's made since then. The next of our local athletes is Villis Yakuzi. Now, I know I've butchered your name, so I apologise for that. He is actually from Lithuania, but lives in Iceland. Extremely good on a lot of the athletic events. He's had a very good year this year. He's won a couple of comps in Iceland, been like on the podium in a few. Very good performance at this show last year, and he's incredible at the Husafell stone, so watch out for him on that one.
Next, we have another Icelandic athlete in Tristian Neelson, who came 2nd at Iceland's Strongest Viking this year, but this will be his first time competing at the Magnus vs Magnusson Classic.
Another first timer for this year's competition is Shane Flowers. Shane's had a great year, very successful in some of the Giants live shows, looking extremely strong in his training. How is he going to cope with the scenario that he's going to be put in to these weather conditions? He's looked strong all year, just got to cope with the situation.
Next from Canada, we have Tristian Hope, and I believe Tristian qualified through the Magnus vs Magnusson Classic qualifier that was held in Canada this year. So it's really cool to see in-person qualifiers happening for shows like these.
I've actually been asked by a few people, how do you qualify for this? And for the most part, it is invitational, but I believe Magnus is introducing more qualifiers throughout the world as this comp gets bigger and better each year. And we've got some big boys already in this competition. Another giant from Finland, Mika Toro, is competing. It's good to see him getting a chance at the Magnus vs Magnusson Classic, and an athlete that's very good at those awkward events. So that huge wingspan that he's got could be very dangerous on some of the events in this show.
Next, we have Ireland's strongest man, Sha Gillan, who won his title just last week at the official Strongman Irish qualifier for Britain's Strongest Man. So he's having a great year because a couple of weeks ago, he also won the SBD Log Lifting Championships.
Yeah, Sean's got a great opportunity in this, and also the man that he beat at Ireland's Strongest Man, Paro Dwyer, is competing in this show as well. So I'm sure they are going to be happy to be able to get this rematch so soon after being tied on points.
Yeah.
And Sean winning through on the last man event, or the last event, which was the Atlas Stones. They're going to have another battle this weekend. Should be a great one.
Then the last of our Icelandic athletes, we have Sigfus Fotsal, who just a couple of months ago podiumed at a Strongman Champions League, World's Strongest Viking, and he's been on a couple of other Icelandic podiums as well this year.
He's coming in some good form right now, so good to see him get this opportunity. And then finally, we have the current Europe's strongest man, Pablo Cordak. We've seen the videos of him getting picked up by Magnus.
What was all that about?
I know, I saw that. Apparently you're calling everyone sexy and...
How does this make me look? Magnus, if you didn't see it, is on this video going, as Auntie Liz would say, handsome Pablo and sexy Magnus were first off. Pablo called himself handsome.
Okay.
I called him narrow. And then Magnus, I said when he had a gold hoop, it was a joke years ago. I don't know. He was sexy in his younger days. Not now, Maggie. Not now.
Sorry, Maggie. Anyway, Pablo Cordak, fantastic athlete. It's going to be good to see him in this one. I think, obviously, he will be a heavy favourite for the show, but a different show than he's used to. I think his all-round athletic ability is going to be very beneficial, though, as long as he can stay warm enough.
So it's 9 events in total, 3 each day, and on the Friday, they are starting off with a stone press medley. Then they're going into the sealskin bag toss, and then finally they've got the stone to shoulder. So Magnus really incorporates what's already there, doesn't he? It's not like a weight heavy competition, if you like, with lots of fancy equipment. He really brings in...
He loves kind of using the stones. There's a
yeah.
number of events that involve various different types of stones, so these guys need to be well trained and adaptable in lifting awkward stones.
Yeah.
Day number 2, they're starting off with the front hold for maximum time. Then they have the Husafell stone carry, and then the stone farmers. These are nasty farmers. We've seen them a couple. Really thick, horrible, awkward set of farmers. If you remember a couple of years ago, it was Maxime Boudreau that got punished for not quite crossing the line. But the rules are the rules. We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah.
However, very nasty set of farmers. A lot of the athletes struggle with these ones. So it's not just the weight, but the awkwardness of the implements themselves.
I like how they did it last year, and probably they'll do it again this year. They did it around the Husafell stone sort of circle, and I'm guessing they are because they're doing it straight after the Husafell stone, so no issues of lines is what I'm getting to. It's max distance. So the final day, day number 3, they are starting with the hand over hand hoist, which I'm guessing is an arm over arm pull. Yep. Then they're going into the deadlift, and finally they're finishing with the Viking log medley. And I love that, you know, so many stones in this competition, but he's not finishing on stones.
No, he's not going to finish on stones. He's going for the logs that are named after some of the great Icelandic lifters. I think the Jean-Paul Sigmarsson log is the heaviest one. So if any of the athletes can finish that after 8 other events.
I think it was only 2 guys finished the log medley last year. Maybe not even that. It's tough.
Some good log lifters in this show, so I think we will see finishes, but it's going to be tough at the end of what's already a brutal competition. So let's take a look. I mean, you know, some big names in this, some local names that maybe we don't know so well, but they've used some of the implements before. That is an advantage. You know, whenever you go to a competition and you have home ground advantage, it's a big positive for yourself. Being experienced on bits of kit, having got familiar with it, understanding and coping with the kind of elements, they are all big advantages to have going into a competition. But when you look at the big names in this competition, I think we've got to be looking at, firstly, Rango Kin, who is the current champion. Not only is he the champion, he's got the experience of being there before.
And the conditions definitely didn't bother him
Doesn't seem to bother
year.
him in the slightest. Shane Flowers is looking very, very good this year. Pablo Cordak, obviously a world-class athlete. I think Pablo, you put into any competition, you're going to be talking about him.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be events where he picks up big points.
Pablo's very experienced as well. He's done lots of different types of competitions at all different levels. So even though he may not have competed in, you know, the ice and snow, he is used to lots of different types of formats, isn't he?
Absolutely. An interesting battle for me is going to be Sean and Pa. Yes. Because there was a big thing with these two going head-to-head last week at Ireland's Strongest Man. Now, I think this is a great competition for Pa. Pa's he's a very flexible athlete. He's got great mobility, which is going to be great in terms of pressing stones, those kind of awkward events where you need to kind of figure out where to hold things. Pa's actually quite adaptable, and I think this competition could be very good for him.
Yeah, and I think what's going to be really interesting is obviously 9 events instead of 5 that they did last weekend. Let's say who's the better athlete over a course of more events and more tests.
And with stronger athletes in there,
yeah,
there's less room for kind of having a weakness.
They're not just like, because when, you know, your standout favourites, it's very hard, isn't it, to get away from each other. But here, you know, we were talking about the Icelandic dudes, like they may not be as well known, but you know, they can smash a Husafal stone carry and they can really cause problems for some of the bigger names.
I'm interested to see someone like Pavlo on the Husafal stone. I think that's going to be a really good event for him.
If they do it around the thing, there's no lines that he has to worry about because sorry Pablo, but he has had issues.
Absolutely. And then, you know, some of the local guys will be good at certain events.
Yeah.
We know that Villis is a very, very good athlete. He lacks a little bit of that top end power when it comes to the pressing and the deadlifting type movements, but very fast, very explosive, and again he's got experience in this competition and with these bits of kit, so it's an interesting one. I don't have like a heavy favourite because it's one of those comps, 9 events, anything can happen. You've got to deal with 3 days of competition, you've got to deal with the temperatures, getting yourself warmed up for every day. You know, anything can happen. We see injuries, we see athletes kind of pull muscles. Even if it's just like a minor thing, it can obviously affect performance. So having to cope with 3 days of competition is very, very tough. Some of these guys have that experience of doing this. For some of them, even some of the better ones, it'll be their first time in multiple day competitions.
Yeah, I mean, Shane has been to Worlds. Obviously, he was injured on the first event there, but this is good. You know, Shane hasn't done that many competitions.
For the most part, Shane's done 5 event competitions. 1 day, 5 event competitions. Obviously, unfortunately, World's Strongest Man didn't go well from him. Yeah. He's been looking fantastic this year in terms of performance and in training. So all things being well, I'd expect a really good performance. But it's a new learning curve for him, and I think it'll be great for him developing as an athlete moving forwards. Yeah,
it's going to be a new type of challenge for him, and it'll be interesting to see how he copes. He's a young man, he's, you know, his head screwed on. He'll be absolutely fine. Do you have a top 3?
I was going to ask you the same question.
I don't want to answer.
I think, you know,
Rango, Shane and Pavlo, I would not be at all surprised to see top 3.
I agree with that, but I really wouldn't be surprised to see other guys kind of slipping in there, people making mistakes. I think, you know, Sean and Parker do really well. I think Mikatora could cause people big problems on certain events. I think a lot of the Icelandic guys could cause people problems. It just takes one. There's no one that's standing out to me other than maybe, I would say Pavlo is my favourite. I think in terms of a winner. But other than that, you know, who knows what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a fun one. We'll make sure we tune in to see what's happening. We'll bring you a little update after each day's competition. But if you want to watch along, head over to the Rogue Fitness channel. It is free to watch. Magnus for Magnusson will absolutely appreciate all the support. He's trying to make this show bigger and better each year, get more sponsors involved, hopefully be able to pay more money to the athletes that are going, and make it a really big show. He wants to keep it rustic. He wants to keep it kind of the way it is, the natural look to this competition. He
wants to keep it brutal. He's a sadist. Yeah, he enjoys it, doesn't he?
He does. He's used to doing those 8-10 event competitions, or he was when he was younger, and he wants to make the younger guys suffer as well. So Magnus is a sick man, but he does it for our entertainment. So we love him for it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let us know your thoughts. Do you like this type of event? Do you like the events that they've got in it? Who are you looking at to take the win or get on the podium? And don't forget, if you enjoy what we do, please give the channel a like and subscribe.
Next, we have the first of the the local athletes. Next, we have the first of the local athletes in Theodore Mar... what's his name? Goodmanson.
Another first timer at the Magnusson.
There you go, worth doing again.
Boom!
My face was a little goofy.
Your goofy face can be blurred out.
Just because my face was goofy, because of the pressure.
Oh, because her face was goofy.
I was like this.